Hi everyone, Ani Gishiru here, and welcome back to Uplifting Studios TV. Today I'm so excited because I'm joined by my beautiful friend. Her name is Zandile Dube, and she is the founder of Employment Connect, and she's also a corporate finance analyst at Findex here in Australia. And welcome to the program, Zandile.
Thank you, Annie, for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here with you today.
Let's get started. I want us to talk about your story of rising because you have such a wonderful story, Zandile. And we met a few years ago via LinkedIn, and that's when you were announcing Employment Connect. And we've since connected since then. I just felt it in my heart that this was going to be something that was going to impact lives and change people's lives. And what you created is doing exactly that. But before we get into the wonderful creation you've put together and the team that you have behind you, can we talk about your journey of getting to Australia and getting into finance and just talking us through your journey as a migrant woman of color? So take us back to Zimbabwe.
Yes, thank you for that, Annie. So I was born in Zimbabwe, and after 2 years or 3 years, my mother actually migrated to the US because I was born in the late 90s, early 2000s, and at that time, Zimbabwe was starting to have its issues, and the unemployment rate was increasing. So in Zimbabwe, it's quite normal that the parents go overseas and then
Yes.
they get jobs there so they can be able to provide for their families back home. So my mom left me with her sister, which is my aunt. So I think that is where I got the courage from as well, because my mom was in her mid 20s then, and she went to an unknown land without knowing anyone there, but just hoping to get to a point where she can provide for her family back home. And I'm talking about more than 10 people. So she was providing for more than 10
Wow.
people. Yeah, taking people to school, looking
Mhm.
after families, looking after her own mother, her own siblings as well. So I lived with my aunt then, and my aunt went through her own struggles as well. Like she went through divorce and things like that. And
Yes.
because of those things, I used to move schools because so much was happening. Back then, I didn't know what was happening, but I was moving schools a
Mhm.
lot. I think I went to like six primary schools or something.
Wow.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I think what did that to me, instead of breaking me, it actually helped me, because every time I went to a new school, I'll be top of the class, even if I go in midterm. And I think that's what helped me to be adaptable, because that is what helped me when I came to Australia, because I had those roots of being able to adapt to any situation. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, it wasn't ideal back then for me to keep changing schools, and my aunt
Mhm.
used to worry a lot, and it used to get to her, but that really helped me to be able to adapt to any situation, and
Mhm.
to be able to work well under pressure as well. So after that, sadly, when I was in year 5, my aunt passed away.
Oh,
Yeah, so I started living with my grandmother, and then went through high school. And then
yes.
this time, my mom had been always looking for a way for us to get to America, because my mom was living in America at this point.
Right.
So when I was in year 7 or year 8, we call it Form 1 in Zimbabwe.
Yeah,
Form 1
we
is year
call it
eight.
that in Kenya
Yeah.
as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So my mom then decided to try Canada or Australia and see if we can get any luck. So she
Right.
tried both. And then when I was in Form 3, end of Form 3, that's
Mhm.
when we were able to come to Australia. And then I was about it. So the HSC in New South Wales, right? You
Yes.
start from year 11, third term, up to
Mhm.
year 12, like all those marks matter. So I came, I think, at the start of year 11, or like just,
Wow.
yeah. So that's also, so I was able to adapt fast, because I knew I was in a different country, different
Mhm.
syllabus,
Mhm.
everything. And I'm about to write my final exams in like 6 7 months, like to start
Yes.
what's it called. Yes. And I just knew I had to catch on. And I just adapted. I was able to adapt. However, it was very challenging because before then, I think I had faced more issues around colorism. You can see I'm a bit on the darker side. I had faced issues growing up, yeah, around colorism, but not so much on racism because you don't really face racism in Zimbabwe. I went to that place in, it was the Central Coast, so that's when I did my year
Yes.
12, St. Philip's in Central Coast, and I think that was amazing for me because I really didn't realize, I wasn't thinking about how I'm different to the people there. Like obviously I knew we had different interests.
Yeah.
They liked dogs, I didn't like dogs. Like things like that, things like that. However, I did, I didn't think there's any difference in terms of opportunities. I think I was very oblivious to the fact
Wow.
that there is systematic racism and things like that
Yes.
because I was the
Yes.
only, me and my sister were the only black people at that school. So
Wow.
those were conversations that we never had. And I think, yes, they are important, but I don't think why, but it never crossed my mind. And I just
Yeah.
thought I could
Yeah.
do anything. So when they were going to
That's
uni, people were
beautiful.
picking their, yeah, when people were picking their degrees, I picked mine as well. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do accounting and finance. That time I didn't know that apparently the corporate world, and now I see the issues in the corporate world now with people of color. Now I see them, but back then I wasn't seeing them.
Mm,
So I just thought,
mm.
yeah, I can just study it and just get a job and everything. And I remember the day I the day I signed up to do also, would you like to, am I supposed to keep going or would you like to ask me
You
questions?
know, keep going, but I just wanted to point out the fact that, everything that happens in your life, Zandile, nothing is wasted. Like the fact that, you grew up in a single parent family, your mom had to leave and, go abroad so that she could be able to provide for the rest of the family. You're talking about, 10 people in the family that she
Mm,
had to provide for, and losing your
mm,
auntie when you were in year 5, and back to living with your grandmother, and like nothing is wasted. All those years there was a
mm,
resilience, I feel, that was in you, that
mm,
was being built. And
mm,
now moving to Australia at such a young age as well, year 11, and
mm,
navigating the different schooling system, being in a whole new country, being in a place where
mm,
nobody looks like you or sounds like you, but still, I think whatever was instilled in you growing up at home in Zimbabwe, that resilience just kicked in, and you were like, well, I can do this.
mm,
I can do finance and accounting, and I'm going to apply for this. So I love that there's something in you
mm,
already that's been built from a really young age. And so you've told us about growing up in Zim, moving to Australia.
mm,
Um, how was life in you? So you get into university.
mm. So when I moved to university, I'll just touch on something that you said. Like, yes, one thing that my parents were able to do for me was to tell stories. That's why I really believe in the power of storytelling
Mm,
because my mother, my grandmother, my aunt, they all shared their stories. They didn't act like everything was going well. They
yes.
told me the challenges they were facing. They told me how they got there. So I'll give you an example. When my mom went to America. She had finished her Form 6 and she was working in a bank. But when she went to America, she didn't have a degree. So my
Right.
mom actually started working at McDonald's and paying for her degree, also looking after 10 people back home. So
My
up
goodness.
until this day, she says she doesn't know how she did it. And because it's so bizarre, like she was working at McDonald's and Chick-fil-A and paying for
Yes.
her studying, also being a mother and looking after so many people back home. Everyone was relying on her. So she told me those things that make me realize that if I put my mind to anything, I can do it. My grandmother, at her time, she comes from a village. At a time, people in the village, especially women, were not getting education and things like that. My grandmother used to
Mm,
walk every single day more than 10 kilometers to
mm,
go to school, and she just didn't stop. She just went through it to a point where she got such amazing results that the priest, the Catholic priest, went to
yeah.
look for her and said, I will send you for a teacher training. So my grandmother, that's how she became a teacher, because she just
Nice. gosh.
was because of perseverance. So I think
Mhm.
because of hearing those stories, I realized that really I can do anything, and the limitations placed by society or people around you, there's always another way around it, because
Wow.
they could have just followed what everyone was doing, but they
Mhm.
realized I have to make something out of this. And I always believe that yes, people around you can try to limit you and everything, but at the end of the day, you choose the life you want to live, and you choose
Yes,
and you go look for opportunities. I don't believe anything just comes whilst you're sitting, but yeah, so that's where I got it from.
absolutely. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So you're coming from like this tribe of women who have just been trailblazers, if you like, who've just been pioneers in what they've done. And that is showing in what you've done.
Mhm.
And so tell us about your life in uni and
Mhm.
ultimately getting, starting up your career in corporate Australia.
Yes. So what then happened was I didn't realize that when I was in the Central Coast, I got an email for University of Western Sydney, and they said we can give you an early entry in a free iPad if you come study with us. I said okay. So then I
What?
start. Yes, but the thing is, I didn't realize it was 2 hours away.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so it was 2 hours away. So I
Wow.
said yes, and then when I went to the open day, I'm like, oh my gosh, I went to my parent with my parents. So I have a stepdad, and he's amazing.
Yes.
What's it called? He lives with my mom as a family on the Central Coast. So I went with my
Mhm,
parents
mhm.
there, and then I was like, I didn't realize it's 2 hours away, and I couldn't drive. So when I went with my parents, we drove there, but I was thinking, I don't have them to drive me when I'm coming to uni. I'm going to be catching the
Yeah.
train. But like you said, nothing, everything that happens in your life is never wasted, because it
Mhm.
ended up benefiting me later, getting to later on. So
Right.
that's how I went there. And whilst I was studying, I remember in my first semester, I used to work at Subway when I'm not at uni. And one of the girls that I worked with at Subway, she was also she was from Asian descent as well. And she said to me, "Oh, what are you studying?" And I said, accounting and finance. Like, no way, that's the same degree I did. I'm like, what? If you did that degree,
Whoa.
why are we working as a sandwich artist together? But she had finished. So I'm
Right.
thinking, wait, what? And then she's like, yeah, oh, there are no jobs. It's okay. Like, so after you finish, you just have to find something to do, because it's really hard to get into, especially being someone of color. And
Mm,
that really
mm.
scared me. And I remember also going to uni, I would meet a lot of people who are doing either nursing, physio, occupational therapy, all those health degrees, which are amazing. But
Yeah.
for me, I'm just someone who I'm too emotional. I think I can't tell people bad news or start crying. So I don't think I'll do well in that industry. So a lot of a lot of people would be like, "What are you studying?" And I'll tell them, and they'll be like, "Wow, that's very different. Do you think you'll be able to get a job? Because my uncle did that, and
Wow.
now he's working in a factory. Or
Oh,
my
no.
cousin did that, and she ended up changing degrees or doing something else." So that really scared me, and I thought to
Mhm.
myself, what can I do to get myself in the corporate industry? So I started just Googling, doing everything. And I
Yes.
realized, you know
Yes.
what? Let me try to go to TAFE, because if I go to TAFE, and when you do TAFE, they put you on placement. If I do a set three in
Right.
business, vocational education. So
Yes.
I knew that if I'm put on placement, the people that are hiring me, they really don't have much of a choice. So then
Mhm.
I just get to work there, and then after I start working there, I can prove myself, and then I can get a full-time job out of it. I was
Absolutely.
fortunate. Yeah, I was fortunate enough that there were amazing people at Pride Advice, and then I worked. And then halfway through my intern, they actually offered me a full-time role. They said, "We would love to keep you." And so then I was still at uni, so I'm doing uni TAFE, and I'm doing this
Whoa.
intern. Yeah, yeah. So, and I wanted to work part time, but they couldn't offer me part time because it was a smaller
Mhm.
firm. So I work from 8:30 to 5 during the day, and I'd go to uni from 6 to 10.
Mhm.
Monday to Thursday because I was doing full-time uni as well. So, but I just wanted to finish. I didn't want to do it
Yeah.
for like 6 years or 7 years. Yes. So that's how I got in the corporate world.
Oh my gosh, Sandy, that is out of the that is incredible. Gosh,
Thank
full-time
you.
uni, TAFE on the side, work internship, this is just on another level, just so that you could get that foot in. And what I love about your story, which is really similar with, the migrant women of color who are rising, there's something that I'm noticing that there is similar traits in that
Mm-hmm.
you're not allowing yourself or your story to be determined by others who haven't made it or others who haven't succeeded, like the
Mm-hmm.
person at Subway saying, well, I did that degree, but I'm here and this is all I
Mm-hmm.
could get, and I didn't get into
Mm-hmm.
corporate. That was what I wanted, but there were no
Mm-hmm.
openings. But and with the conversations that I'm having, because I've lived in Australia for 20 years, and when I first
Mm-hmm.
came, Zandile, a lot of the jobs that were available to people who looked and sounded like me were cleaning jobs. And so that's what I did. I never questioned. I
Mm-hmm.
never questioned. I just, my first job was cleaning, and I did that. And I did it for years,
Mm-hmm.
whilst in uni. And that was because I never questioned it, because that's what people who had come
Mm-hmm.
before me were doing. And that's how we were sort of
Mm-hmm.
hooking each other up. You need a job,
Mm-hmm.
I'll hook you up. And then things began to change later on, where you realize, hey, you know what? I don't want to keep doing this. I want more, and I'm going to do what I can to get that more
Mm-hmm.
in my life. And I
Mm-hmm.
love, the women that I'm interviewing, because that story is so similar to others who are saying, you know what, I was told I couldn't get into corporate, but I decided to try
Mm-hmm.
anyway. I decided to give it a go. And my goodness, your approach is one of such
Mm-hmm.
hard work. Who would do full-time uni and TAFE and be in a placement and oh my gosh. Yeah, that has
Yeah.
just simply blown me away. Wow, that is just outstanding. So you finally get into corporate. So talk us
Mm.
through that.
Um, so when I finally got into corporate, I was lucky enough that I was in a diverse work environment. However, I was still the only person from African background. So there were Italians, there were Malaysians, there were Vietnamese, everyone from everywhere. But yeah, I was the only person from a diverse background. But I think also one thing that happened. So when I went to Western Sydney and my placement was in Sydney, that meant my uni and work was in the same place. So then I then moved to Sydney, which would have been different if I had gone to a uni closer to the Central Coast, which would be Newcastle. It would have made it harder to try to
Right.
get a job because most work placements are in Sydney and I'm in
Yes.
Newcastle. So that means everything that happens in my life, that's genuinely what I believe, that everything happens for a reason, because I have seen this trail that this thing happens and you are devastated, but then it leads to the next thing that helps you. For example, my mom had tried to get me to America since I was 2 years old. I only got to
Mhm.
Australia when I was about 17, and I always wondered why couldn't I get there earlier. But I think me staying in Zimbabwe for such a long time, it really helped me find my purpose. My
Mhm.
purpose was there, and then when I came here, I came with my purpose. But yeah, answering your question, when I got to that workplace, there were a lot of young people. So my
Yeah.
boss, he was one of the managing partners. He was 27 at the time. I was
Wow.
19. Yeah, he was 27. I was 19. One of the managers also was 20. Everyone was in their late 20s, early 30s, and then a few people in their 40s as well. So everyone was young, but they'd achieved so many things. So what
Wow.
that broke in my mind was, no matter what age you're at, you can
Mhm.
do anything. So that's what that was showing me. So when I got into the workplace, I really didn't think much. I remember though one time, because we used to do super funds for older people with
Yeah.
high net worth and things like that. And I was on the phone talking to one of the ladies, and she didn't understand my accent, right? And she literally was so angry, and then called my manager and said, "Why do you keep hiring these people that I can't understand?" And she's like, "You need to fire her." And my manager was like, "Look, if we have to lose a client, we lose a client, but we are not firing you." And that was amazing. Yeah, so that was
Wow.
amazing that he was able to do that for me and stand up for me. And so that happened. And then when I then moved to a different firm and I started working as an auditor. So whilst
Mm-hmm.
working as an auditor, I was going to different that's when I moved to Findex. I started as an auditor. Sometimes I help out the audit team even up to now.
Yeah.
But so that's when I was working as an auditor. So you get placed on different jobs depending on how big it is, for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, right? So whilst working as an auditor, I was going to different offices. So I'd meet up with the finance teams, the CFOs, everyone.
Mhm.
And I started to notice, why can't I see anyone who looks like me? Because
Yeah.
at first I thought it was just only the place that I'm in. But then now
Mhm.
going to very different, I'd go to diverse workplaces. Some of them are, let's say, investment funds, some of them manufacturing, like just different places. I just realized the higher you go, you were not seeing that many people of color. Like, so
Mhm.
you would see a lot of people in, like, let's say, accounts payable, accounts receivable, all those things. But as you go up, you just wouldn't see anyone of color. So I started to question myself, why is it I see there's so many people who can't get jobs when they study accounting, finance, law, all these things, but then they say they're not getting jobs, and then there are all these big firms and these people, but they don't have diversity. So that's when I started to question this. There must be something wrong. So that's how I started to think about Employment Connect as well. I don't know if you want me to get into that or you'd like to comment.
Please get into it because I've been waiting for this bit to come in about Employment Connect because
Hmm.
I think for somebody to see that need and uh, go for it, address that. Let's
Mm.
get into it, please.
Yes. So then when I started doing that, I started calling up my friends who were still at uni, because I was still at uni at this time too. Because that's like 1 year like that was like 1 year apart or like 2 years apart, because I only finished uni in 2018, September
Right.
2018. Yes, so I was still at uni at this point, and I remember calling up my friends who didn't have jobs, or in asking them to connect me to different people. I'm like, why do you think you are not able to get a role in corporate Australia? A lot of people simply said, I don't know how to get into corporate Australia, because
Mm.
as immigrants, we realized that some people who are born here, you have a network. Your parents know people, you have
That's
cousins, you
right.
have all these things. But if I'm an immigrant, the network that I have now, I literally started building it up the day I stepped my foot in Australia. So that's one thing. You don't have a network, right? And then
Mm.
secondly,
Mm.
some people they don't know how to get into the industry, because we see a lot of our parents, like you said, some people are in different industries, and we have been told for so long that we belong to certain industries. So
Yeah.
this industry we've just never thought of getting into, and we're starting to get into this industry now, or maybe just a few years ago. So you don't know how to get into the industry. But
Mm.
also I believe there is systematic racism, or a lot of people have unconscious bias, that, well, as soon as I step in a room,
Mhm.
I have to prove myself. I can't just step into a room and people think that I am
Yeah.
capable of doing these things. Often when I go to these events, career networking events with my friend or something, I get asked, "Oh, are you his wife?" Right? Or things like that. No one can believe
Yes.
that I'm there, because I'm here to contribute as well. I
Mm.
don't know if it's because
Mm.
I'm female or it's my race. I still don't know what it is, because it even happened this year. Um,
Yeah.
this year
Yeah.
in 2020, I went to this event with one of my friends. And then they were like, "Hey, are you his wife?" And I'm like, "Why do you think why couldn't you think that I'm here for
Mm.
the same reason you are here as well? You had to
Yeah.
think that I'm a plus one." That's
Yeah.
really upsetting as well. So I think that's the other thing that can also deter people, because you're not
Mm-hmm.
starting from a level playing field when you get
Absolutely.
in the industry. Yeah, you are having to prove yourself. So I think that's what's great about Employment Connect, because we get it's a mentoring program. So we mentor people who are still at uni or in the early years of their career, and we match them
Mhm.
with a mentor who is where they would like to be. So the mentor can be from any race, any color, and everything. And what we have seen is, through these mentorship programs, everyone is learning, because I have some people who are Australian Caucasian, right,
Mhm.
mentoring someone who's still at uni from an African background, and they're starting
Wow.
to think, I never realized I had this much privilege, right?
Yeah.
They literally starting to learn about privilege. They're starting to learn about
Wow.
okay, this is how I can change, because we all have unconscious bias. So they're now starting to be aware of the unconscious bias and how to overcome it. So
Yeah.
you see these mentors who are also in hiring positions starting to think,
Mhm.
oh, these are the certain things that I need to take in account when hiring people. We have people like one of our partners, our partner firms, Cox, another law firm. They were literally saying, we started to realize that people judge people based on where they live or their name. So when they're recruiting for graduate
Absolutely. Yes.
programs, they've started to blank out the name and the address, and just recruit based on the resume and how that
Yes.
is. So we're starting to see change in people reacting to from these conversations and things like that. And in terms of mentors,
Mm.
of mentees, they're starting to know that it is possible to get anywhere you want to get. They're starting to have this plan of how to get into the corporate industry. And then that being done, they're also starting to grow their network in places that they would never would have. Because if you're still in uni, and then we introduce you to a partner in a big firm, that partner works with 10 other people, right? And knows 10 other
That's
partners
right.
and 10
Yes.
other directors. So now they're introducing you to more people, and you're now growing your own network at a faster rate. And so we've had people getting
Mm.
jobs, people getting interviews, people starting to realize, I can dream beyond what I think I can dream. Like literally, I can be anything, because that was one thing that I was struggling. Like I always say, one thing that I realized is important to have Employment Connect is it's hard to dream beyond what you can see. So because I
Yes.
couldn't see anyone who looks like me high up there, I will start to question, can I do this? Can I not do this? But then I had to realize that you just have to create a path if you can't see the path for you to get there. But I'm starting to see that
Mm.
a lot of people are starting to have the same attitude through the program, and they're
Yeah.
also starting to do life changing things. Some people have even started their own businesses as well.
Oh my
So
goodness.
yes,
This
it's been
is
an amazing two-way street. Yeah.
This is so beautiful. This is why
Mm,
I love what you're doing, because you saw a need and you went for it and you addressed it. And now with the formation of, Employment Connect and the impact it's having on people's lives is just absolutely outstanding. And it goes back to stories. It goes back to the stories that we
mm,
grew up hearing, and the power of story. You can't be what you can't see, and
mm,
you can't even dream as big as you would like to if there is no representation. And I think what Employment Connect is doing is that it's making those connections. It's connecting those people who need to be connected and to grow and become
mm,
all that they were meant to be. So tell me, what are some
mm,
of the, because I've seen the work that you have done being recognized on different
mm-hmm,
platforms and awards even. Tell me, what
mm-hmm,
has the impact been, and what are the
mm-hmm.
plans now as you continue to grow Employment Connect?
Okay. So we have helped more than 100 mentees, connecting them to mentors and different companies, because we partner with firms as well. So what's it called? We have put people in places that they didn't think they would be. That is getting them jobs as well. And they've been getting jobs through these networks as well. And also one thing that I've noticed is we've started to see awareness from the our partner firms as well. They're starting to recognize we need to think about our hiring process, because
Mhm.
we didn't think there's that many people. Some people just think, oh yeah, there's not that many people of African and Caribbean background
Yeah.
in the field, because they don't want to study it, but they don't realize there are actually a lot of people who are studying it. So they're starting to realize, okay, let's start to do to what's it called, to diversify when we hire. How
Yeah.
do we make this opportunity available to everyone? And then we've
Mm,
started hosting events. Employment Connect hosts career networking events, and we have had people flying from different cities to a career networking event. I found that very
wow.
interesting, and I said, why would you do that? And they said, because Employment Connect has provided a platform that makes me believe that I am valued and I am seen,
Mm,
regardless of what I
mm,
look like. So because I'm able to realize that, I know that people, I'm going to be in an environment where people will recognize me, and I don't have to prove myself. I just have to
yeah.
be me and show up to be me, and people will have an interest to talking to me, listening to me, and things like that. Because two guys actually came from Melbourne when we hosted a Sydney event, and it was a 2 hour event, and they came from Melbourne, and I was like, why? So that's when they told me that, and I didn't realize how much of a safe place I was creating, especially
Yes.
for African and Caribbean people, immigrants. I didn't realize
Mm,
how much of a safe place I was creating, because they're saying for the first time they felt like they were in a place where they were not othered, but they were in a place where, like, you are not othered, but you are there, and everyone
you're part
recognizes who
of,
you are. You
you
are part of.
belong.
Yeah, you belong. So yeah, so they belonged and not othered, and that was very important for them. And they could have
Mm,
that confidence that I don't have so many things to worry about. I'm just connecting because of who I am. So we had a lot of recruiters there, and a lot of mentors there as well. So they were able to connect with these recruiters, mentors, and one of the guys ended up getting a job. He ended up getting 2 offers. I think he didn't have, but after that he got 2 offers from two big four firms. Yeah, so that was that,
this is,
that was
it,
good.
it's just on another level. And is it just specific to people who are in finance, or is this open to people who are in different industries?
So at the moment, we do finance, accounting, law, and engineering.
Okay, all right. That's really,
Yes.
really important to do. So, what are you currently working on, and how can people get in touch with you?
So because of the lockdown, I started also working on, because we can't meet and things like that. I started working on a podcast actually. So we're still
Oh,
putting it together, because I'm interviewing 50 people, right? And I realized I interview them through Teams, so I can actually record it and turn it into a podcast as well.
yes.
So I'm working on that podcast of sharing, keep sharing what's it called, stories, and inspiring people through the art of storytelling, which is what you do well as
I
well.
love that.
Because
Yes.
yes, because I find when you see people who are, sometimes you look at what's it called, celebrities, and they are so
Hmm.
beyond reach that you think it's another
Hmm.
world. But by storytelling, the storytelling of people who are not that far away from you, you're able to
Yes.
see how that's possible for you as well. So I'm working on a
Wow.
podcast, and also Employment Connect has grown. We now have
Yes.
a team of 5 who
Hmm.
help me with the work. So we just continue with the mentorship program. One is finishing up in end of this month, actually, end of
Yes.
July. So we have another mentorship program finishing up, and then we'll be starting another one in September. So this is law,
Wow.
finance, and engineering. So you can connect with us through the
Yes.
Employment Connect page. So it's
Yes.
just employment underscore connect.
Yep.
On Instagram, we have LinkedIn, or via our website. You can go to our
Alrighty.
website, and then there's a place to email us. So that is through Employment Connect. And
Yeah.
then
And just tell us, what's your website? What's your website so that people know where to go?
okay, it's Employment Connect. So employment with IMM, because I just
Yes.
said employment, immigration, employment, and then I connected the two words. That's why
We've
it's
got it
employment
there.
with
Employment Connect.
yes.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yes, Employment Connect, that's our website. And
Okay.
we just want to keep growing, extending other industries that we thought you couldn't find, you can't find people of color. So we'd love to grow our
Yes.
industries and then just continue the work and changing as the world changes, because we didn't see COVID happening, and
Yeah.
we thought we had an event just before the lockdown. We had an event scheduled the 31st of March, I think, or 30th of March, and then the
Mm.
lockdown just happened just before then. So we had to adjust and adapt as well. So we are now
Yes.
adapting with this new way of living and going digital, and yeah, so that's what
Wow,
we're
that is
doing.
absolutely wonderful. Zandile, I love chatting with you. The first time we connected was when you just first, had started Employment Connect, and to see how much it's grown in the last couple of
Mm,
years is just beautiful to see. And I can't thank you enough for the work that you're doing. We need more Zandiles who are, pioneering and doing things that haven't been done before. I thank you for the example that you're setting, and I have no doubt that this is just the beginning and that great things lie ahead. One of the things that we didn't talk about was self-limiting beliefs and how
mm,
self-limiting beliefs get in the way of people pursuing their dreams, particularly people, migrant people of color. And perhaps that's something
mm.
that we will touch on next time. So I will leave it there so that we can have something to connect with when we chat again next time, because no doubt we
Yes.
will. But for those
Yeah.
of you who are watching, I want to let you know, as a life coach for migrant women of color, I have a free audio guide that is 3 steps to unshackle self-limiting beliefs. And you can head over to upliftingstudios.com.au to download that 20-minute audio guide. And it's amazing. It'll give you the tips that you need to break free and live a life of purpose and impact. So, Zandile, thank you so much for being here. And no doubt we will continue talking. And I just wish you the absolute best.
Thank you so much, Annie, and thank you for believing in me. We will talk later on, and thank you for everything that you're doing for migrant people of color and sharing these stories, because you are impacting lives, including mine as well. I love to watch what's it called? I saw some on YouTube as well. One episode on YouTube, and yeah, I love
Yes.
reading what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. God bless you and talk soon.
God bless you
Thank
too.
you,
All right,
everybody, for
bye.
watching, and we'll chat again soon. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye.